That's
90.
shocking.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, what? Really?
For anyone listening out there, my name is Camille Hugh. I'm a writer, filmmaker, actress, multi-hyphenate. Hi, Dezera. How are you doing
Hi,
today?
Camille. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So this is really my first time interviewing another filmmaker. And so this will be like my first episode of this show that I envisioned, where I ask other filmmakers about the process of making their short film, their web series, as the different projects. And actually, Dezera, you responded to one of the posts on Facebook that I put out, I think asking about like something about my web series, and you told me
Right.
about your series, which I then proceeded to watch the entire thing and I loved it. And I just wanted to like chat with you and see like what the whole process was like to make it. And so thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for asking me. And also, like, I watched yours. I subscribed to you as well because I really did enjoy what you were doing.
Thank you.
And I felt like, well, we have to support each other, so get out there and just, start supporting one another and helping one another. Especially, the YouTube environment has actually opened up a lot of opportunities that more of us need to be taking advantage of.
For sure, I completely agree. And actually, I just want to point out that you're coming to me from Rome, right? You're in Italy right now.
Yes, actually, last March, after, 2020 was a really trying year for everybody. And I was living in Los Angeles at that point. I went to film school in LA. I went to New York Film Academy and got my MFA. And I was there from 2014 until last March. And I was doing my thing. I'm working on this web series, but other projects. I have a couple of feature films that I'm trying to get up and running, and got really, really, really close. So I have 4 names attached to my first feature that I wanted to direct and produce. I wrote it as well. And then the funding fell apart, at the last minute. Though the good thing is all of the actors are still very much interested in being involved. It's, of course, just still trying to get that funding, and being a first-time director, you know how that goes. And also, African-American female director and da 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 da. So, there are a lot of obstacles put before us. Plus, the lead of the film is a female lead, Black female lead. So that's yet another obstacle Hollywood loves to, throw our way, even though today it seems like, wow, this is the time to do that. However, it's the time only if you know the right people
are involved. Yeah, I hear. Is it a comedy, or was it a comedy or a drama?
No, actually, my feature is a satirical drama erotic thriller. So that's basically, it's the subject matter is about sexual addiction from a female point of view, though. So, but it's a satire for sure on what's going on today. So, not a comedy, but there is comedy in it. I always feel like when you have dramatic subject matter, a little comedy is good to kind of relieve the tension,
for sure,
so to speak. So there are definitely, a few characters that bring in a bit of comedy relief, basically.
Gotcha. And then what made you, so you said then you left in March of last year, or 2020, because of the pandemic and everything?
Well, because the pandemic, all the BLM, or just there was so much that I was just like, I need to go to my happy place. And I lived here about 10 years ago 2007 to 2012. for like almost 5 years. And that's really when my filmmaking journey began. I was an actress in musical theater. I was having vocal problems. So, but I still loved traveling. So I moved to Rome to teach and figure out my vocal problems. And that's when I wrote my first few scripts. And then, you know, the journey began. And so
Gotcha.
it was a really, I would say like very low stress existence here
Mhm.
when I was here. And I was able to be really, really creative. And so I just needed to get back to like a happy place for a while. And I always equated Rome as my happy place. That's why my production company is called Eternal City Productions, because Rome is the eternal city. So, and this is where it all began.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you were able to return to your happy place, and hopefully it's like sparking a lot of inspiration and you're doing lots of writing and creating while you're there.
I actually have. I've written 2 new web series
Oh,
that we're going to go into production in March. So I'm returning to New York to do that.
okay.
And then season 2 of Terms and Conditions. I also wrote that. So worked on that. So I was able to get some writing done for sure.
Amazing. Well, when you bring up Terms and Conditions, that is the series that I watched that introduced me to you. And if you just want to give a brief, like a log line or a synopsis of what Terms and Conditions is about, that's great.
Sure. Terms and Conditions, it follows a 65-year-old cougar upon her retirement, decides that she's gonna follow her dreams and make it big in Hollywood. How hard could it be? And so that's where the comedy ensues, basically, in Barb's quest for stardom.
Here we go. This is a copy of your driver's license.
Oh, no. But it's a picture and it's my head, so it's a headshot.
So, and I wanted to do something. We wrote this with my comedy writing partner, Jimmy Willoughby, and he pitched it to me actually. And he knew S.J. Mendelsohn. They did stand-up like around LA. And he just loved, you know, that she was beginning her stand-up career at like 65.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yes. So it wasn't like, oh, she's been around for 35 years. No, she just started doing it like at that point, and he thought she was great. And so he pitched the idea of a web series kind of loosely based around her. And I loved it because, you know, how many series, I can't think of anything except for me, I guess, Frankie and
I know that.
on Netflix.
Yeah, I know the show. I can't think of the
Yeah.
name off the top.
Frankie and I can't
Is it
remember.
M? Frankie and
Maud, I don't know, but Maud, but I know it's not Maud. But on Netflix with Jane Fonda and oh gosh, see now.
We know what you're talking about.
Help me out, everybody.
In the comments.
In the comments, please. But and then prior to that, you know, like there was Golden Girls,
Yeah.
you know, where older women, you know, were the center of everything. You know, you see it a lot with older men, but you know, not with older women. So I thought it was a really great concept. And so then we set out and we wrote it together. And then it was a long road though to get it to where it is right now, because we actually filmed in 2016 and we actually did not launch it until 2020. So it really sat in post-production hell for about 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a lot of post problems, namely, you know, first the director, Megan Weinstein, was supposed to edit.
Yeah.
And then for, whatever reason, she was not able to edit. So then I had to find an editor. I found one editor, but then he didn't work out. Then we ran out of money. So it really was one of those serendipitous moments where I was teaching ESL. I was a director of an ESL school. And one of the owners of the ESL school was a big Brazilian telenovela star.
Uh-huh.
And Guy Berenger is his name. And we just became, it was like one big family, and he had a production company in LA. And then, in the end, a friend of mine was like, you just really need to get your projects out, after the funding for my feature fell apart.
Mhm.
And, just start making your rounds with whatever, content you have at the moment. And I said, well, I have this in the can, so I really need to start refocusing back on terms and conditions. And at that moment, I was also kind of creating a lot of content for the school. And so I asked the editor that was doing the work for the school if he could help me out. And just so happens, he worked for Guy's company. And so he asked Guy, and then they just said, your family, we're going to do it for you for free.
Oh, wow.
But,
Amazing.
I know that was really, really amazing. And, and these are the things like, so it was basically as they did it as a partner. So of course, I don't know if you saw at the end of each episode, their logo came up, because also he was trying to build his portfolio for content in the English language market, and they didn't have anything that was scripted. It was a lot of industrials and things like that. So it you help one another, basically. Yeah. So, and of course it was on their timeline. So whenever the editor had extra time, he would work on it. So it took about a year, because he was working on their paid projects,
Gotcha.
And so on the side, he would work on terms and conditions, but he loved it. He was like, oh my God, this is really, really, good, especially for the money that you spent on it. We did 7 episodes for $5,500. So, that was pretty tight and our longest episode, I think, is about 12 minutes, and our shortest is about 5.
Yeah.
So, it's about 46 minutes of content. So ultimately half a feature film for $5,500.
Yeah. How did you, if you don't mind me asking, were you able to raise the 5,500, or did you have to self-fund it, or how did that happen? The 5,500.
Right. Well, we tried to raise money, and we raised about $500 on Indiegogo. It's Indiegogo, and crowdfunding is great, but you have to spend quite a bit of money to crowdfund. So if you don't have the money necessarily to spend to crowdfund, then, it's all about your own network. And my own network was like a bunch of actors, and
they're all looking for money.
Not money either, so everybody was sharing it, but, not too many donations, or, maybe like 25 here or 10 there, so we got up to 500 with crowdfunding. And so I just happened to that year get like a really great tax refund.
Okay.
So I decided, hey, I got this money that I wasn't expecting. And then the actress herself put up half. Her husband was, is a lawyer, so they put the money in, because also for her, it was a really great vehicle for her. Now she's a booby, boobies knows best, and she's a TikTok star with like 4 million, followers.
Whoa. Oh my God.
Whatever, so she's doing her thing, and, all of it was part and parcel for her of achieving what it is that she was trying to achieve, basically. And, that's basically how we funded it.
That's pretty amazing. I've never heard of like the actress or like someone in there that were kind of like, but like it's investing in yourself, as you're saying, you invested in yourself by going to your tax refund. I did this, well, I got a grant for my series, but like I'm not opposed to putting my own money in. I can't put too much now, you know, but like
Right.
I'm all about like investing in yourself, and you have something to show for it, right? You have this amazing product that will get you where you're trying to go. So kudos to you and kudos to her. She has 4 million. I have to check her out and follow her on TikTok.
Yeah. So she has 4 million views and I think like a couple of 100,000 followers or something like that. It's just like, I was like, wow. I was like, well, you have to give me some TikTok pointers
Nice.
because I have nothing on TikTok.
Yeah, I know. TikTok is like just this foreign. I almost quit TikTok when they only limited it to a minute. And I was like, I just can't make stuff in a minute. Like I just couldn't get it down to a minute, but now they've expanded it to 3 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I can work within that. But yeah, TikTok is like another beast, but it's so popular. It feels like you have to be on there, you know?
Exactly. You know, though I kind of also feel like, because also I'm doing an MBA in digital marketing and entrepreneurship. And one of the things that they talk about is, yeah, there's so many platforms, you do almost feel like you need to be on all of them, but actually you only need to be on the ones that your demographic are on.
Right.
So whoever you're trying to reach, who's your demo, if they're not there, don't even bother.
That's true. That's very true.
No, so if you keep it to that, you know, then I think it's a little bit more manageable because otherwise it's just impossible. It can become a super time, you know, suck.
Yeah.
Basically, you know.
That's true. When I think about like what is your lead actress, like she's an older woman and seems to be thriving on TikTok. So it's like where you really have to know, I guess, what your content, who it appeals to.
Right.
You are.
And on Instagram, she has several thousand followers on Instagram as well. Like she's on her way to being a micro influencer, you know, at 70.
Amazing. It's never too late, right?
It's never too late.
Well, speaking of social media, what platforms or how were you able to market terms and conditions? Like what was your plan of getting it out there and getting eyeballs on? Because I know that show has, some of the episodes has like hundreds of thousands of views. So you're doing something right too.
Yeah, you know, it's really, really weird because I did a lot of marketing when we first launched last August. And I mostly marketed on Facebook. So I did the paid sponsorships. And I would never spend more than like $25 in 5 days, you know. So I think in total, I spent about $500 or $600 because that really was all I had to spend.
Yeah.
And with that marketing on Facebook at that particular time, we got to maybe about 87,000 views for the whole series. I was like, hey, you know, 87,000. I was like, woohoo,
yeah,
you know, yeah, okay. And then there was this thing that happened between, I think it was Facebook and Apple, where Apple, you know, all of the privacy things, you know, were changing and, you know, people had to opt in on iPhones. So then that actually cut down on a lot of your reach with the marketing. So with the same amount of money, I was finding I was having a smaller reach. So at that point, I felt like, okay, we have to rethink this because, you know, before at $25, you were telling me I was going to reach, you know, like 100,000 people. And now you're telling me I'm only going to reach 2,000.
Oh, well, no.
Right. It was crazy. So I had to rethink that strategy because, and these are basically things that are unforeseen. You know, you make your plan, you have no idea that they're going to change their algorithms or they have to basically these types of obstacles between companies, also between laws, because a lot of those changes Apple was making to be more compliant with the European Union, change their, privacy laws, et cetera, California, and as time goes on, probably more and more and more states, places in the world will also follow suit. And so, or perhaps, I won't say they will, but perhaps may follow suit. So I kind of left it alone at that point because I was like, well, 87,000, I'm not, it's nothing to sneeze at, it's pretty good, And, but then last August, I don't know why, I've been looking at all the data, all my metrics. I still don't know why, but all of a sudden it just started to grow on its own, by itself.
You hadn't changed anything, none of the keywords?
I didn't do anything at all. It was like August, I was on vacation. I had guests visiting. We were out sightseeing and it was growing. I would come back and I would be like, what? Like, I've got how many? Wow. Like 200, like from 100 to it doubled. Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, 100,000 views. Wait a minute, and it was just growing and growing and growing and growing on its own. Okay. And we got to this point. So I'm not really sure there was anything I did in particular. I would say that now I'm doing a lot more just to keep it going. Looking at the tags, making sure your SEO, your keywords are within your descriptions, the title, etc., doing things like that, being very mindful, because what I also started noticing, there are basically 3 episodes that are really, really getting most of the views. And so then it's like, well, why is that? And I've come to the conclusion in all the research that I've done, it's thumbnails and titles. And it's, the lion's share is episode 3, which is called Love Me Tender, like the app. And it's my star in bed with her cub. So
much younger guy.
Right. So very provocative, and so, and then the other ones have very similar thumbnails, and the title, maybe not as clever. I think Love Me Tender was I've always gotten comments from friends, love the title, that's a great title. And the other one was like, episode 7 is Ow My Neck. And the other one was episode 5, which is called Cooking with Barb, which is like, I don't know, that one, not so provocative. But again, out of the 3, it gets the least amount of, but more than all the other episodes, which are like, a couple thousand, one's like 10,000, 5,000, 6,000. So they're good, but not, Love Me Tender has almost 500,000 views,
Do you know if your lead promoted the series, like if she did any type of marketing for it?
She definitely promotes everything that she does. So yeah, she was promoting on all of her social media. She mentions it, so that could have also helped, being that she has become so popular. She was quite popular before her TikTok fame. She was on a show called Boobies Knows Best. It was on Jewish Life TV, which is streaming on various different platforms like Tubi and stuff like that. And basically it was a dating show where 3 Jewish grandmas would set up, young folk.
Okay.
And so she got very popular, and she actually did a lot of PR. I mean, on regular TV, like she was on Steve Harvey and a couple of other talk shows, because the show was that popular. So they had the boobies on, basically. And so she definitely did some promotion as well as her co-star, Star Gilliard, also promotes everything that we do. So, and I think also the fact that we have Rushi Koda, which he is a recurring regular on Never Have I Ever. He plays Prashant. And he was also Dr. Vic on Grey's Anatomy. So, but we found him first because he
okay.
did us first, then he did Dr. Vic. And of course, now he's Prashant on Never Have I Ever. So I think that also probably helped because we did initially, when I was promoting it last year, a lot of the views were in India. And since he's Indian American, I think, you know, his popularity, you know, being this Indian American on this show about Indian Americans that was really popular on Netflix, you know, so they saw it. So I think a lot of them saw him because I had him featured in thumbnails too, which was intentional. Like it wasn't a mistake. I had him in a thumbnail. I knew exactly what I was doing. Once I realized we were getting, you know, viewership in India, I started featuring him prominently. And those also have gotten more views than, let's say, other ones where he wasn't featured.
That's
so
very, very smart. Yeah. So I guess it's it's a mixture of luck. Like you never know what your cast will go on to do. And if they obviously if they hate it, then that's going to have an effect on your series. And then, you know, well, I guess my question is, did you ask them to promote, or is it just something they did? Because it's something that I almost feel a little weird, like asking my leads, like, hey, promote your, you know, I almost feel a little weird about doing it, but I know that you need all the help you can get. So did you have to specifically ask them to do it, or it's just something they did on their own?
I would say in the beginning, I asked them to share, you know, everything, but I didn't say like, oh, please actively like promote like as hard as I would, or, you know, but I would definitely ask them to share anything that I was promoting, and they would. Sometimes I would say the two main ladies, you know, Star and SJ, they promoted. I didn't have to ask them at all, you know. Everybody else, you know, yeah. You know,
I know what you mean.
Share, and if they do, great. If they don't, great, you know. But I think it really depends, I think, on the size of the role, perhaps, and how much, I mean, also for SJ, because she basically funded half of it. So she had a stake in it, and she has a stake in it. So that also makes a difference. But I would say, you know, I did have in my contracts with them, because the whole production was a SAG production. So I'm a SAG signatory, and it was a new media contract. And in the contract, there is a portion of that they are expected to do some amount of promoting initially. So I do say I expect them to, if I ask them to do an interview or two, to make themselves available initially, you know, but at this point it's not initial. So, you know, I asked them at this point, I didn't realize it would take this long, but you know, sometimes with the first project, sometimes that's it, you know, it's a long road, hard road, but definitely, you know.
And you also, I noticed in your thumbnails, you have like quotes from reviews, essentially. How were you able to get that? Did you ask people to like, hey, provide me with a quote, can I use your name? Or you pull it from comments, or how did you go about doing that?
Basically, there are a couple of review sites for short films and short film content, like Indie Shorts. You can go to their website and request a review. Some of them want you to pay, but Indie Shorts, you don't have to pay. You know, it's just a process. So it could take a little while before they get back to you. Or sometimes after they review you, they may they not review like official review, but kind of review your details. And then they decide if they want to review you, you know, kind of. So they decided to write a review of the web series. And luckily it was a really, really good review. And basically, you know, they give you, once they review you, they also give you a shout out on all of their social media. So, you know, to promote and everything, it's promotion for their issue, but also, you know, to promote you.
Right.
And so there are a couple of other, if you do a little search for indie short film review sites, you know, you can find places and request reviews. Sometimes it's a paid review to get a review. They'll watch it and then give you an in-depth and detail. I would just say, look at all of the reviews of the site, you know,
Right.
from people who've gotten reviews from them to see what they felt, how they felt about the review in terms of how thorough or in-depth it was. And, you know, of course, you know, what the time, how long it takes them to
Right.
get the review, you know, things like that. And it's a good source for promotion, you know, because you can then officially pull out things from the review and they're actual quotes that somebody in the industry who, you know, has some kind of following said about your project.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I have also you get coverage, you know, you can even go and get coverage from like I got coverage for my feature from the Blacklist because we were a semi-finalist in the macro incubator. And I took a lot of comments now from that because there was some really great comments that I got that I was like, oh, this is sweet. So when I'm pitching to people, I tell them this is what they said about this film, this script, you know. So, you know, I think it's really a good idea to also try to get things like that. And it really does help promote. Because
Definitely.
people sometimes need a third party because maybe they're not sure, but then if they see, you know, third party review, like, oh, brilliantly written, you know, like Indie Shorts magazine, blah, 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 you know, so it's like, oh, okay.
Confirmation,
Or,
you know, it's validation.
Exactly, right. Somebody else, they didn't just say it themselves, somebody else said it.
Right.
Also doing web festivals, you know, web series festivals, because we did that. And so we were accepted into, it was 5 different web series. So then you can put the laurels on there because that's another kind of review per se, where, you know, then people, oh, well, I was in a festival. Oh, it won an award in a festival. Oh, you know, so then it makes people think, well, it must be good. Let me take a look.
Exactly. And with those festivals, I'm assuming that they were online since you launched this last year. They weren't in-person festivals, right?
One of them was because it was before the pandemic.
Okay.
So it actually screened. We actually saw it in a big theater on a big screen.
Nice.
And we actually closed the festival, like our film, so our short, you know, first episode, and we won an award at that festival. So that was good. That was nice. But the other ones, yeah, were online. Basically.
Okay. And did you find what came out of the festival? Were people approaching you with like maybe streaming it or licensing it, or what was the result of winning the festivals?
We had a possibility to license with Tubi through Buffalo A and Bonded, but which I have a long relationship with my feature film with them, but I didn't really like the terms of the licensing because also they were trying to get it in perpetuity, which I was like, no, thank you. I'm not doing that because I want to retain control of it's a web series, come on, you know. So, and I felt like I didn't want to have it tied up should nothing really happened, as far as, and I just didn't like the terms. And so I just didn't move forward with that. But certainly people may, and it just depends on the situation, which one you decide to do, what's going to work best for you. I felt like I think I get more traction with YouTube rather than like Tubi, because there's so much on Tubi, and there are actually bigger fish on Tubi too. So my little fish is just going to get lost in that big fish sauce, basically. Whereas granted, YouTube, there's a lot of fish on YouTube too. However, I just felt like it was a better platform for my series.
Gotcha. So is your goal then basically to build up your own audience and have them coming to your YouTube page or your website maybe to exclusively watch your content? Like, are you focused right now on just building your audience more so than like getting it licensed or getting it on the streaming platforms through other?
I'm much more focused on building my audience as proof of concept. That's how I'm seeing it. So if I can build a large enough audience that then platforms come to me.
Yes.
And start offering me deals, because I have content that a lot of people like, and they need content.
They need us.
They need us, but I have to prove to them that they need me. You have to prove to them that they need you by building an audience. If you, some little old you, can build an audience of, let's say, maybe 15, 20,000 subscribers, but you have like 35 million views. Some network TV shows don't get that much.
It's true.
And they have millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, at the network. So if you can do that, then you have some leverage, basically. So my intent is to build the audience, to build my leverage with my content as proof of concept. But at the same time, I see various avenues of how you can, you monetize your own content. You have revenue streams, so the various different ways that you can get residual revenue. So hopefully to, sustain yourself in the endeavor while you are waiting for that right moment where then Hollywood feels like, okay, this deserves a look.
Yeah, for example, like the
Money-wise.
partnership, right? You can monetize your videos. I think you have to reach like a certain amount of subscribers, maybe, what is it, 4,000?
You have to have 1,000 subscribers. So I'm already monetizing. So 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of viewing. So you have to have both of those.
Right.
So, it's a milestone that you have to hit. And then after that, the real way to make money, though, is not with the ads, because, I've been monetizing since November, $300.
Gosh, you know how much money YouTube is making off of us?
Exactly. So, but the real place, the real way is like, okay, as you build your viewership, your engagement, you can also reach out and start asking for like sponsor deals working with sponsors, merchandise, so you start merchandising, and then basically maybe a subscription service, like go to Patreon and then start building content that actually is behind a paywall, where people would pay for that. So because I have a MFA in producing for film and television, so I am working on building my consulting, script coverage, script breakdown, scheduling, budgeting, services, etc., and also teaching people how to do that themselves, to people who didn't go to film school, but you really need these skills, and so building that kind of consulting
Right.
kind of business behind it, so that will also build a stream of revenue to help you sustain yourself.
Right. And then when you have your feature film ready to go, you have all these people ready to watch it, willing to pay and excited about it coming out. Yeah. That's amazing that you outline all the different ways, because so many people think it's just, oh, I got to get monetized. And then, well, you see like these big YouTubers like PewDiePie and all these people with all these numbers, and they're making a lot of money from just the viewers themselves, but there's all these other ways and avenues that you can explore. So thank you for kind of giving us a sample of all the different ways that you can try to support yourself while being a filmmaker. And yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, and that's what I say, that's the opportunity that it gives filmmakers that maybe, 10, 15 years ago were not available, and now we have that opportunity to kind of go on our own, do your own thing. And it's not easy. It's not, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. And there's no guarantee, that it's going to grow. It takes a lot of work to figure out what works. YouTube is a really specific place too. For scripted content, it's even, I think, more difficult. It's not generally the place for scripted. Most of the biggest YouTubers are not doing like scripted content. So that's why really I feel like the main focus for my scripted content is just to build proof of concept, for each project, so if I'm looking for a home, let's say for terms and conditions, like I want to pitch it to Netflix. And, once we get to, we've got, 7 million views or whatever, then Netflix is like, all right, come in for a meeting,
Exactly. Yeah. They're contacting you like, hey, this is Netflix.
Hey, we're, interested in your content, how about a meeting? So that is really what the goal is. And I think as scripted content creators, I think if you use that as the goal, I think it also takes some of the pressure off of like, like I need to make money or whatever. It's like the money is definitely important to be a self-sustaining filmmaker, and it could be a way around Hollywood where perhaps you get lucky and you're really good and your content really takes off, and you don't even need Hollywood because you're doing your thing and making your living at it and comfortable. Nobody telling you, no, you can't do this or change that,
Yeah.
That's the dream.
That is a dream. Yeah, and it can happen. I mean, look at Issa Rae. I mean, yeah, she's went to a big, I'm sure HBO has notes for her show. Although I was seeing something where they were like, they pretty much had a lot of free reign in making that show just because she had such a big following, people who wanted to support her. But yeah, you make really, really good points. I didn't really think about it that way. A lot of the content on YouTube that is like really big, there are a lot of like instructional how-to videos, or there's a lot of like just vlogging reality style kind of silly videos that those creators, or the gaming people, which I don't get that. I don't get
I don't know. I don't get it. Like, why do you want to watch someone play? I don't know.
I haven't sat down and actually watched it, so maybe I'm missing something. I'm missing out. Maybe it's like hilarious or something. But yeah, it's really true. So you're hoping to build a following for terms and conditions, so you can go to like a bigger network, or they can come to you and want to turn it into like a show on like a Netflix or Hulu or Prime.
Right.
Station.
Right, expand it. Like basically right now, it's short little episodes, but I would like to expand it to a half-hour comedy, and I think it's expandable, and so I'm proving there's an audience for it. the audience is really interesting. It's not the audience that I thought it was going to be.
No, who was the audience? Who did you think it was going to be, and who is it?
Well, most of my content that I create is geared towards women, 25 to 45, and it's, diverse women. So but also, men in that age range too, because everything is female driven. 90% of my subscribers are men.
Really? That's
In that age range, like I would say 25 to 65.
That's
90.
shocking.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, what? Really?
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a lot of men out there that want to be a cob.
Oh, is that?
Apparently,
We're finding out things about our society.
I did not know.
It is kind of amazing, right? Because even for Am I the Crazy Girlfriend, my web series, it kind of has a slant towards Reddit, and I know Reddit has a lot of like male users, and so a lot of my audience as well, they're men, and I thought it wouldn't be, but it's interesting, right? What the data reveals.
Exactly. So you're thinking, yeah, it's because it's women, it's older women, like men aren't going to watch older women because, the past has told us that, but how things have changed, I don't know, because I was like, what? And the comments we get is like, oh, I've been looking for a woman like her. I was like, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So when I answer, I have to really be thoughtful because it's like, I don't want to encourage, like any kind of stalking or anything.
Right. So are you going through and answering everyone who comments on the page?
Definitely, you really should, because it's all about engagement as well. And so that's what you really want to try to build, because that's what's valuable, because also engaged subscribers, engaged fans are the ones that will go and see your film. The other ones that are casual, maybe they will, maybe they won't, because they're casual. And so you're really trying to encourage that engagement. So yeah. So whenever somebody answer them, no matter what, unless that it's some kind of really negative comment, then you can kind of have them, like a troll or somebody, then you can kind of have them removed or hide it or whatever.
Yeah.
But anything else, answer it, because that's what you want to encourage, the conversation. I would even say pin your first comment. So you make the first comment and pin it to the top, and have it more like a question or something to spark the conversation about the episode, like maybe whatever the episode is dealing with, to kind of hook people in to make comments.
You're dropping gems here.
Yeah, because that is the key to building the community, because it's about the community. Views are great, but views don't always turn into seats in the theater,
Right.
But engagement does.
Yeah, that really proves to the networks, the people watching, like, oh, okay, yeah, these are the super fans, they're the champions, they're going to spread the word. So those are the people you really want to encourage the conversation to keep going with that.
Exactly. So, you encourage them, and, but it's just, some of the comments are really funny. So it was just like, wow, I mean, really? And even it was like, oh, like what keyword, how did they find it? And it was like GILF. And I was like, really?
GILF? Oh, is it grandmother? Is that grandmother? Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Is that one of the targeted keywords, or that's just what they search for to get there?
Well, it is a targeted keyword. I thought it was something I made up, but apparently it's a keyword that people are using to find it. which I
Okay.
was like, I thought I made that up. I guess I didn't.
Well, speaking of the keywords, did you like go into, so I know you made up Gil and then it turned out to be a real thing, but how did you get the other keywords to target? Did you like do some research with Google keywords to see things that people are searching for? Okay.
Yes. So you would go to AdWords, and just start thinking about what people might use to find your content. Now, I would also say don't stick to like the obvious ones, but things that could be tangent, or related, but not necessarily direct keyword, because that will expand. And then put it in the tags, but then try to use as many of those keywords in your description, in the title, etc. Also, I use vidIQ.
I was just about to tell you about that. You already know.
Yeah. So I use that also to kind of help, and they make some great suggestions, and they'll tell you how many times that keyword was used, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As well as what is the other one? Boost. But I use the vidIQ way more than the other one anyway. Yeah. But it's really helpful. Also in just making sure that you have your end screens, the title cards, all of these things, also help, in the suggestions of YouTube or browser searches, etc. So
it definitely, when I'm struggling for keywords, I go to other videos, and then vidIQ, you're allowed to see what other videos are using as their keywords and what their channel, who they're targeting with their keywords. So that helps spark some inspiration. Like, oh yeah, that I could use that. I could borrow that for your video.
Exactly. But I mean, to be honest, like you do all this stuff, and then to be honest, like I said, it just started taking off like crazy for absolutely no reason. I don't know, something happened. I imagine, because what I'm also learning about the digital space is that maybe their spider finally got to it and kind of found it, because it's constantly climbing through the whole internet. Yeah. So it kind of discovered it, last August. And then that's what happened. But prior to that, it hadn't quite discovered us yet.
Right.
So I think there's a bit of that going on. And so you just have to keep going, keep at it, keep making your content. And, eventually it'll find you, and like for no apparent reason, all of a sudden, bam. Because I think what happens is people get discouraged and they stop.
Yeah.
That's
so true. So those are great words to kind of wrap it up on, since we're coming upon an hour, and I wanted to kind of cap it at an hour. But just before we go, what is next for you? So I know the feature is kind of in the pipeline, but what are you going to be working on actively like next we can watch out for?
Okay, so my next project, I decided I'm going to do a prequel to my feature project. Okay. Because also I wanted to direct it myself. Terms and conditions, I was the writer and producer showrunner, but I did not direct. And so a lot of the comments that I was getting from distributors and financiers was like, oh, you don't have, your first time director, you don't have a track record. So I'm trying to do that myself. So it's called Secret Swipes and Lies. It's a web series, and it's 5 episodes. And basically it takes place maybe around 5 years before we join our lead character in my feature, The Secret Lives of Me. That's the name of the feature. So be on the watch out for secrets, swipes, and lies.
All right. And when you come to New York to film it, hit me up if you need any help, production side or any side.
All right now, girl. I
said it's on camera.
Yes.
Well, Dezera, thank you so much for joining me and chatting with me and sharing all of your wisdom. And I wish you, it's already like blowing up, but I wish you so much success on terms and conditions. And I can't wait to hopefully meet you in real life in person.
I'll definitely reach out. I'll be back in March. So I'll reach out and, we'll have to grab a coffee and meet face to face, and let's see what kind of collaboration we can do. Because I love what you're doing. And I think we, especially as Black women, we need to support one another in this filmmaking journey. So definitely.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day in beautiful Rome.
You enjoy your day too. Yours is getting started. Mine is kind of winding down.
Yeah.